Did you know there was a whole scene cut out of the original Pokémon movie? Well, not exactly, let me explain. The uncut story of Mewtwo's birth is a 10-minute animation that details the story of a young Mewtwo before the events of the movie. I've already reviewed that in a video before, but I've noticed the topic making the rounds again on YouTube and TikTok, and I kinda skimmed over the details a bit in order to get to the review portion of that video. So let's go over the history. On July 18th, 1998, the first Pokemon movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, was released in Japanese theaters. However, in the weeks leading up to the movie's release, there was a radio drama called The Birth of Mewtwo. This aired from June 7th to July 15th. The radio drama told the story of Mewtwo as a child alongside Amber 2, very similar to the animated short. It was even written by Takeshi Shudo, the writer for the Pokemon anime. It's meant as a prologue to the movie, and then we flash forward a year later to July 8th of 1999, where it was adapted into an animated special called The Uncut Story of Mewtwo's Origin. In future Japanese television broadcasts and home releases of Mewtwo Strikes Back, this short was included in the movie's runtime. This version did also include a lot of brand new animation that was very different from the original Japanese theatrical version. This is often called the Kanzenban version. Following everything so far? Later that same year, on November 12th, 1999, Mewtwo Strikes Back released in theaters across the United States. This English-dubbed version did not include the additional Mewtwo's Origin short. Rather, it maintains the same runtime as the Japanese theatrical version. The US English theatrical version does use a lot of the updated animation that was in the Japanese Kanzenban version, but again, it does mostly keep to the same runtime and plot as the original Japanese theatrical version, just with all this brand new updated animation. This is where the narrative of the Mewtwo's Origin section being removed or cut out comes from. This prologue was added into the Japanese version before the English version was released, which then chose not to include it in its initial release. It wasn't cut out, it was optional in the first place. But then the question becomes, why didn't the English version include it? Well, who really knows? They've never really given an actual reason. I don't think it was because the story was too dark for a Pokemon movie. Yes, there are some character deaths and it's pretty emotionally heavy. But immediately after this, we see Mewtwo awaken as an adult, grappling with his existence and the ethics of genetic cloning before destroying the entire lab facility, killing everyone inside in a terrible blazing fire. If they really wanted to make the English dub less dark, then they should have cut this part of the movie entirely. But they didn't because, well, obviously it was part of the movie in the first place. And it's not like we didn't get Mewtwo's origin at all. It was dubbed in English and included as a bonus feature on the home release of the Mewtwo Returns TV movie. On one hand, it's kind of a dumb idea to include it outside of the Mewtwo Strikes Back home releases. It could have just been like a bonus short on there too. And really, I think that they should eventually at least officially release an English definitive version that includes it in the main runtime. Like, imagine the sales for an extended edition to the very first Pokemon movie. But I also get having it in the Mewtwo Returns home release because that was the shorter story anyway. They're both basically Mewtwo DLC. Though my main theory of why Mewtwo's origin wasn't included in the English version is because of pacing. With it incorporated into the runtime of the movie, it would take nearly 20 minutes before we see our main characters. The movie wasn't originally written to have this part of it, and it doesn't necessarily need it. Further proof is that it just wasn't adapted into the remake Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, the true #1 item on the list of unnecessary Pokemon media. So at the end of the day, the Mewtwo's Origin special was not technically removed because it was added content in the first place. Really, it's a weird situation because it was technically removed from the Kanzenban version but was itself an addition to the theatrical version. So in a way, it's kind of like Schrödinger's scene. It was added in but was also removed. Saying it was too dark for American audiences is literally misinformation for clicks. Now excuse me as I proceed to use all caps for the title of this video. Though I still do like the special, and I think it's really cool that it was adapted from a Japanese radio drama in the first place, because then we're still able to experience this story across the world years later. And really, I think it comes down to personal preference as to whether you want this as part of the main story or you enjoy it as kind of like a side thing afterwards. When you're watching the movie on, other websites, it is just included all together as one big story anyway. But when it comes to the officially released media from Pokemon, I think there should be the option for the extended edition. And while you're at it, please just make some decent cover art for the DVD of this movie. Anyway, if you're curious about my actual full thoughts on the story of the special, I did a video on it a long time ago, though I can't remember if my opinions are still the same. Leave a comment and tell me if I should re-review it at some later time. Also, let me know what you thought about the special and how you would like to see it released. Anyway, I think we're gonna go grab some popcorn and watch this movie again. It is almost the anniversary. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the Great Gators, Brandon Mork, Cheeseburger Lasers, Green Topaz 213, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Meme Supreme, Michaela, Mochizuki Yoru, Nomad Nobi, Quago, Taijirai, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here as well as access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes. Anyway, this has been GatorX. I'll catch you all later.
In 4 more days, you can catch Pokémon the first movie. Plus something cool you'll only find inside every video. Never before seen footage of Mewtwo's origin. Coming in 4 days, you can catch it all on videocassette and DVD. Rated G.